So it took for your life to turn drastically. You ended up on welfare. You kind of mentioned it in passing. Oh, yeah, I was on welfare, and that's when I realized what happened.
Yeah, and I also had a mini stroke. So, and I still, yeah, I still didn't ask for help then. I mean, like the universe is screaming at me, Tanya, are you hearing me? Would you like me to deliver the next level for you? So, yeah, I, I became there's a saying about a frog in a pot, and that if you want to cook a frog, you put it in a saucepan of cold water, and you turn the heat up ever so slightly. First, it becomes a little bit warm, but hardly recognisable, and it's still quite comfy. It's still quite tolerable. You can still function. Frog's not in any immediate danger. And over time, and that can be days, it can be weeks, it can be months, or in my case, it can be years. You are slowly, that temperature has turned up to the point where it's so hot, you know you should get out, but you're paralysed and you can't. Because if they turn the heat up too quickly, the frog simply just jumps out of the pot and it saves itself. Whereas I was in a relationship that was very controlling, and I was isolated. I was married, and in a classic, I always get my schisms wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's a narcissistic personality of the other person. And classic also psychopath behaviour. I was moved away from my family and friends. I was isolated. So that's a classic move, as you would know.
Yeah.
I was now 3 hours away from it where I worked as a journalist, 3 hours away from my friends. And I was isolated, and all the little lifelines that I had were cut off very, very slowly. And all the things that I had going for me, I had money in the bank, I had a couple of $100,000 in the bank, and I had this in my name, and I had that in my name. And very, very slowly, it was all signed over to my husband, and it made sense at the time. And when I eventually got out, and my girlfriend said to me, "Hey Tanya, do you have this? Do you have that?" And I said, "No, no, no. Please stop asking me those questions." And I hung my head in shame, and I said, "I have become one of those women we used to write stories about. I'm one of those pathetic, weak women that were strong, that are educated, that should know better, and I have become one of those. So please, no more questions. I have nothing. Not even the car, my own car was not even in my name when I left, and I was terrified that as a last act of control, that he would report that car as stolen." So because I have contacts in journalism, I was very lucky in that I've got a friend, and we kind of let the police know what was happening. My house was flagged, which means that if there's a 911 call or a triple O call, a distress call from that house, the police know, and they come fast, and they come in a high number. Mine wasn't physical domestic violence. There were some physical things in terms of a window was punched, smashed with his bare hand one Christmas Eve, and broom was broken on the floor, and sort of threatening sort of stuff like that, but not physically on me. It was emotional and psychological, and it's really hard, because when I went to get help, when I was looking for a way out, because you keep drawing lines in the sand. If your person in your life was to do this, then that's it, I'm going to get out. But here's what happens: is the frog in the pot. The line in the sand comes, and you're still being boiled alive, and you don't know how you're going to get out. Because I've no family, no backup plan. So when I left my husband, I was literally making that decision to no lifeline at all, no safety net. And in fact, if it hadn't have been for my girlfriend, who was one of 3 confidants that I told that I was going, she put her name on a townhouse for me to get out, because I had nothing in my name. I'd gone into a relationship as a woman with $200,000 in the bank, and property and car and career and all this kind of thing, and I came out with not even a car in my own name, broken, shattered, barely able to string a few sentences together. I was unrecognisable. And 3 weeks before I had fled, 3 weeks before I left, my then husband had given me 3 weeks to get a job at the local supermarket. I was not allowed to work in the media anymore. I was not allowed to muck around and be self-employed anymore. I was to do as I was told and to pull my head in, and that was the way it was going to be. And my daughter turned to me, and she was just burst into tears, and she said to me, "Mummy, if if you don't stand up to bullies, they'll rule the world.
Oh,
And yes, and she was 9. And I thought to myself, I already knew I was going, but I hadn't told her. I wanted to protect her until the morning that I was going. And I just thought, I should have left sooner. That's my only regret. Should have left sooner. Yeah.
what a little goddess
Yeah, if you don't stand
that
up to
showed up,
bullies,
yeah, to guide
yeah,
you and
and
validate your decision.
yeah. And so, yeah, I found myself I went to the local welfare agency just for a reconnaissance mission. I told myself I was just going to check things out. And they whisked me away into a room and they said, you're in a domestic violence situation. We need to get you out. You qualify for this, this, and this. And they didn't sit well with me, like many women who have financial, emotional, and psychological abuse, because we don't have the external black and blues. You know, we still question whether or not it was, domestic violence.
Yeah.
And yeah, and of course, I didn't take the grant, but I took the advice and I got out, and I found myself living on welfare of, I think it was it might have been $150 to $200 a week. It was 3 years ago, and then I just went about madness with the support of friends emotionally, and I built a 6-figure business in 6 months. But I mean, it wasn't without its emotional. I mean, your flame, your spirit when you go through that is almost non-existent. It's tough. I understand, having gone through it, why women stay. I really do.
Wow, what a story. And your visible recovery, as in 2 6-figure businesses and your outward success, doesn't even begin to tell the whole story of the recovery of your spirit, because that's much deeper work that you've had to do.